Hello, everyone, and welcome to the I Love Kidmin podcast, the place where you and your church take the next steps in your kids' ministry journey. We know you love Kidmin, and we want to give you the tools to succeed. Now, your hosts, Ryan Frank and Corey Jones.
Hey, I Love Kidmin. Welcome to episode number 10 of the I Love Kidmin podcast.
Number 10, Ryan, double digits. You excited about that?
I am. I've been excited about this. All week. So last week I was kind of teasing it up that we're one episode away, and we made it. And I guess if we're still doing this, people are still listening. I hope they're listening. I think they're listening. And I know you and I are having a great time doing this. I can't believe we're episode 10. How crazy is that? Are you going to stick with it for 10 more?
Oh, we'll see.
You better. You quit,
Okay,
I
fine.
quit. That's the deal. Okay.
All right.
My contract says I'm in if Corey Jones is in as co-host of the I Love Kidmin podcast. So, Corey and I, before we hit record, we were actually talking about MegaCon and how we want to record some podcasts while we're at MegaCon. And we're getting close to MegaCon, aren't we, Corey?
2 months out. It's going to be here before you know it. Are
That's
you
nuts.
maybe excited about anything there? Anything
I
you're looking
am.
forward to?
Is it really 2 months out? It is. You just created more anxiety for me, Corey. Okay, I was having a pretty good morning. 2 months out. I'm pumped. Our numbers are up. We have a record number of vendors, record number of participants. So I'm pumped about all that stuff. But I think probably one of the things I love most about MegaCon is it's like all of these friends that we connect with in the I Love Kidmin Facebook group and Kidmin Academy, and we're talking online, and you actually get to be face to face and just hang out with each other for 3 days and worship together, learn together, cry together, discover cool stuff together. And I know, Corey, you're a digital guy and I'm a digital guy, and I like my electronic stuff, but there's nothing that replaces just some face-to-face time with your ministry friends. And so the whole fact that it kind of has that reunion feel, I really, really like. So what about you? I know you're excited to see me, but is that your number one thing, Corey?
Maybe number 3.
Okay.
No, I'm looking forward to the speakers and the teachers. I know every year I walk away encouraged and at the same time challenged to take another step in ministry. So with speakers like Brian Dollar, Yancey, and the Ryan Frank, it's going to be a good conference.
It really is. Ryan Frank. We're going to have a great time. And if you're listening to the podcast, I don't want to assume that you know about MegaCon. So we do a big 3-day conference in Nashville, Tennessee, October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Love to have you there. We give away a car. Someone's leaving with a brand new car. Or it's not brand new, but it's a 2019. It's got a few miles on it, but it's a new car. You get to leave with the keys and the title. We do worship, general session speakers, main stage speakers, over 150 different training opportunities, a ton of resource providers. KidminNation.com is the website. Can't wait to see you there. It's going to be a good one, Corey. 2 months out.
That'd be great. All right. So who do we need to thank for making this episode possible?
We do have a sponsor for episode number 10. Big shout out to High Voltage Kids Ministry. So a lot of you probably used High Voltage Kids Ministry in the past for your elementary curriculum. Brian Dollar, who's the MC of MegaCon, him and his wife share it this year. They're the kids pastors that produce this curriculum. It's awesome stuff. For 17 years, they've been producing High Voltage Kids Ministry curriculum. But this month, Corey, they have announced, in fact, just this week, if I'm right, they're announcing High Voltage preschool curriculum, and they're adding that to their digital membership. And so you can join the membership September 1st through the 15th, and you will not only get the elementary curriculum, but you'll get the preschool. And here's the cool thing. I know for a long time, churches have been asking Brian, hey, when are you going to do preschool? When are you going to do preschool? The time is here. And Brian is giving away a 6-week series, a preschool series about the parables of Jesus called Tell Me a Story. And you can download it right now for free, Corey, at highvoltagepreschool.com, highvoltagepreschool.com. And when you're on there, you'll find a whole lot more about the preschool curriculum and get a lot of your questions answered. highvoltagepreschool.com. Go there, download the 6-week series. It's free. And hey, maybe come September 1 through the 15th, you need to jump in and join High Voltage Kids Digital, because you'll start getting, in addition to elementary curriculum, preschool. So thank you, High Voltage Kids Curriculum, for sponsoring today's podcast. Love you guys. I use this curriculum from time to time. It's really, really, really good stuff. All right, Corey, let's talk about some favorite things. I'm going to let you go first this week. I know you've got a good one. You're excited to share. Let's hear it, and then I'm going to jump into mine.
Mine is a web page resource I've been finding that I've been using a lot recently, so I wanted to share it with you. It's ultimatecampresource.com. And on this web page, you'll find icebreakers, skits, team building activities. They have different videos, and especially the games. I've been searching. There's circle games for kids that are sitting in circles or sitting in chairs. There's cooperative games, high energy, big activity games. There's some that are large group games. And man, for like maybe VBS or something like that, they have parachute games and water games. Just they break them down into these different categories. You can see the titles of the game. You can click on it and learn all about them. I've been using a lot of the games, but you can search that whole site. It's Ultimate Camp Resource, and it could be used for your camps, but it could also be just used for maybe Wednesday night church. Find a good game on there.
Well, you're right. I just pulled the site up as you're saying this, because this is a new one to me. There's a lot of stuff on here. I mean, skits, videos, stories, songs. Yeah, go check it out, ultimatecampresource.com. I've got a resource today, and it's published by Orange, and it's actually part of the 2018-19 curriculum, but you can buy it as a standalone curriculum. It's called Made Kids. Kids. I don't know if you've seen this, Corey. I'm going to do this with my preteens at my church in September. It's a 1-month curriculum on God's design and purpose for our bodies. Something preteens, I think preteens, really, everybody needs to get this, but I'm thinking preteens because I'm thinking about the kids in my church. This is good for preschool. It's good for elementary. It's good for preteens, understanding the fact that they're wonderfully made. They're made in God's image, that they're important to God, that they need to respect themselves. And in this unit, I'm actually holding a product in my hand. I know this is a podcast. You can't see it, but there's a preschool version and an elementary version. So it's not too, preschool kids aren't too early to know that their bodies are special and that they need to guard themselves and set boundaries and respect themselves. And of course, we know this is good for elementary and preteens. But I picked this up at the Orange Conference, actually, because I want to use this with the kids in my church. So I haven't taught it yet, but I'm calling it one of my favorite things because I'm pumped to do this with my kids in September. It's Made Kids. You can get it at thinkorange.com or theorangestore.com.
Today, we'll be hearing from Van Moody. Van is an author of 5 books, 3 of which have been bestsellers. Van serves as the pastor of the Worship Center Christian Church in Birmingham, Alabama. And at MegaCon 2019, Van's wife, Dr. Ty Moody, will be on the main stage teaching. So today, we're going to be hearing from Van Moody as he encourages us with the task of leading this next generation. So let's turn things over to this week's expert guide.
Well, hey guys, good afternoon. Come on, if you're excited about Jesus, come on, why don't you give him a hand clap of praise. Awesome. I simply just want to encourage you with the theme of this great conference to color outside the lines. Look at someone near you and reinforce that to them. Tell them, make sure you color outside the lines. All right. And if they didn't receive it from you, tell them anyway. Amen. You color outside the lines. But the reason I want to encourage you to follow through on this amazing theme is because I don't know if you are aware of it or not, but I don't think we have any other option as leaders, particularly in kids ministry, because the picture that is being put out to the world is distorted. So we have to color outside of the lines. As a matter of fact, I really think that the greatest task of our generation is to clearly articulate who God is to the generation that is coming behind us. I think every generation has the responsibility to communicate the truths about who God is with two things, with biblical integrity and with cultural sensitivity. In many ways, you and I are called in this season of ministry to really be a David, but not in the way that you may think. In Acts 13 and 36, it says that David served God's purposes in his own generation. That David understood that in that season of his leadership, that there was a certain way that God needed him to lead. And not only David, but also David's mighty men. There was a group called the men of Issachar. And in 1 Chronicles 12 and 13, it says that they understood the signs of the times and they knew what Israel must do. That's our calling. Because the signs of the times, if you haven't figured it out yet, they're not good. For an example, biblical literacy is at an all-time low in our country, and it's growing around the world. One survey said that about 82% of people that took the survey believed that God helps those who help themselves is actually a Bible verse. Another poll suggested that people believed that Joan of Arc was Noah's wife. Seriously. There was another poll that said that a growing number of kids even believed that Sodom and Gomorrah were actually a married couple. The signs of the times are not good. I wish I had more time. I'd tell you even crazier stats. There was one that I read that suggested that people thought that the Sermon on the Mount was given by Billy Graham. Now, I love Billy Graham, but he didn't give the Sermon on the Mount. That's an example of the signs of the times. There's another thing that's growing called Moralistic Therapeutic Deism. Researchers have been surveying a lot of kids and adults, and what they found in their responses is that what more and more young people are adhering to is not our Christian faith, but a mushy pseudo-religion that they have called Moralistic Therapeutic Deism. It really means that they believe that the central goal of life is to just be happy and feel good. That they believe that you don't need a daily relationship with God. You only need to go to God when you have a problem. That's another sign of the times that's not good. And here's the last one that I'll share with you. People are leaving the faith at an alarming rate. 1 in 3 young people, somewhere around the age of 16, 18, some polls say even early 30s, have decided that they just want to leave our faith altogether. Pew Research Center followed up on that study, and they revealed that the largest number of people who said that they decided to leave the faith left for this reason, because of a lack of understanding about who God is and a lot of confusion about the tenets of our faith. That's because the signs of the times are not good. But very similar to a popular classic book, while it might be the worst of times, it's also the best of times. This is the greatest opportunity for us to expose people, and particularly young people, to who God is, to ground them in the faith. Because everything that they are looking for in life, we know is found in Jesus. We know that. I call the emerging generation the Thomas generation. You remember in John 14 when Thomas goes to Jesus and he says, we don't know the way. That's what a lot of young people ultimately grow up asking. We don't know the way to peace. We don't know the way to joy. We don't know the way to have a purposeful life. And our response as leaders should be, we know the way, and his name is Jesus. Because he is the way. I had an opportunity to take my kids to Disney World. I have 2 amazing kids, 9 and 11 years old. And we went to Disney World, and this was not the first time we went, but we went because everybody who had gone to Disney World recently was telling us about Avatar, the Avatar ride. And so we got our tickets and we got there, and walking in the park, the Disney attendant said, "Welcome to Disney World. Have you ridden Avatar yet?" We hadn't even gotten in the park yet. Then we started walking through and haven't even gotten to an area where Avatar was, and somebody waved and said, "Welcome to Disney World. Have you ridden Avatar yet?" And literally everywhere we went, that's what they kept asking us. And then so finally we got to the area where the Avatar ride was and stood in line for 4.5 hours. But everywhere along the line, people were saying, oh, we're so excited because you're getting ready to ride Avatar. And after standing in line for 4.5 hours, my feet were hurting. I was hot. I was starting to complain, telling my wife, I don't know why it was your idea for us to go to Avatar in the first place. We finally got to the ride, and we rode it, and it was mind-blowing. It was amazing. And after standing in line for 4.5 hours, my kids turned to me and said, "Dad, it was worth it. Let's stand in line again." But what's my point? Even though we were uncomfortable, even though it was a long wait, everywhere along the journey, people encouraged us. You got to ride Avatar. That's our calling as Christian leaders. That every time somebody comes into contact with us, we ought to say, not have you ridden Avatar, but do you know the way? Do you know Jesus? That's our calling. So be encouraged. You've got the greatest assignment that the world desperately needs, to point them to the way. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Van Moody. Man, I'm going to tell you, Corey, those stats are alarming. 1 in 3 young people around the age of 16 to 18 are leaving the faith altogether. That really, as parents and as pastors and ministry leaders, that ought to shake us. I mean, really, that's pretty alarming. And if this is true, we need to really, and it is true, we need to paint a picture and clearly articulate who God is to this next generation. We've got a big job ahead of us, don't we, Corey?
It's true. And we need to be pointing them to Jesus. They're not going to know the way unless someone shows them the way, the truth, and the life. We must help this next generation to fall in love with Jesus.
Yeah, and we need to make sure as leaders, I love what Van said, you've got to know Jesus yourself. And then, I mean, one of your big jobs as a leader is it's more than just the nuts and bolts of ministry and planning center and scheduling the next event. I mean, we really are partnering with parents and taking kids down this spiritual journey. Van Moody is so brilliant. He's a great pastor, and so thankful he could be at MegaCon. And Corey, you're right. Yeah, I know you said as you introduced, Van, his wife, Ty Moody, is going to be a main stage speaker at MegaCon. She's just as good. So we're going to be in for a treat with Dr. Ty Moody as well. Hey, this week in the I Love Kidmin Facebook group, we want to hear from you on how you are pointing this Thomas generation to Jesus. So go to I Love Kidmin, search for episode number 10 in the I Love Kidmin Facebook group, and let us know what you're doing to point your kids' ministry to Jesus. There are no right or wrong answers. Share what you're struggling with. Share something. Hey, we're trying this on Sunday mornings, Sunday nights, Wednesday nights. We're trying this in small groups. We're providing this resource to parents. Let's get the conversations rolling in I Love Kidmin. Just go search for episode number 10. We'd love to hear from you. Corey, I need to congratulate you. We've made it through episode 10. This is quite an achievement. How are we going to celebrate?
I think we should just have a party.
I think we should too. The problem is we don't live in the same state. So
2 months from now at MegaCon, let's have a party.
Let's do it. I think that sounds like a plan. Friends, thanks for listening to the I Love Kidmin podcast. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. A lot of you are listening, but you're not subscribing. We are watching, and we know. I'm just kidding. Subscribe to the podcast. rate and review the podcast for us. That would really, really, really mean the world to us. And thank you, Corey. You're a great co-host. I appreciate you organizing these for us. Shout out to Andy who produces these, and everyone on the team who helps make the I Love Kidmin podcast possible. You're loved, you're appreciated, and we can't wait to talk to you in episode number 11 coming next week. We'll see you then.
This episode might be over, but the conversation is just getting started. Head over to the I Love Kidmin Facebook group and let's talk about your next steps in your kids' ministry journey.